Have you ever paid attention to the pronouns that you most tend to use in your day-to-day life? It has been a while that I thought about making a video on the 3 most used pronouns: I, you, and we. And the reason is that I had noticed in many occasions that each of them have a distinct impact on people. It turns out pronouns are more important than what one would typically think. To learn more, I read a book titled The Secret Life of Pronouns by American social psychologist James Pennebaker. He writes that function words, which include articles, pronouns, prepositions, and a few others, reveal parts of our personality, our thinking style, our emotional state, and our social status. What is surprising is that even though they account for less than 1/10 of 1% of our vocabulary, they make up about 60% of the words we use. And the reason why most of us aren't even aware is because our brain is not wired to notice them. Based on various studies and experiments, it would appear that pronouns, in particular, are directly connected to things that are more important to us, such as mental health, leadership, deception. In this video, I want to share with you, as always, what I have found based on research and on my own experiences. Before I get into today's video, if you like my videos and my content, which includes tips, tricks, and treats on communication with our own selves and others, do not forget to hit the subscribe button below. Also, click on the bell right next to it if you want to be notified every time that a new video is out. We use I and you statements in close relationships with our family, with our friends, with our partner. When their use is of particular importance is in confrontational situations. Imagine you have a conflict with your sister because she maybe didn't take the trash out the last few times. You go, "You never take the trash out. Why should I be the one to always do it?" This is a you statement. You do not do this. I am pointing my finger at you. The use of the you statement, accompanied with the tone of voice, which is very important, usually is perceived as an attack. Now, the speaker's expectation is a change in behavior. You wish that your sister took the trash out more often. But using the you statement does not bring any change in behavior. What it does bring is defensiveness in the other person, and probably they even shut down completely or simply tune you out. This only serves to escalate the conflict. You statements are directed at the other person. In such a scenario, whether the other person is at fault or not, their automatic response is defensive. The response of your sister, in most cases, is, "Yes, I do." You might want to share your feeling with your sister about the subject matter, but putting it in this way doesn't help either one of you. What you should use instead is I statements. In our example, you could say, "I feel a little frustrated because it has been a while since you took the trash out. I don't always remember to take it out and it starts smelling." I statements can help reduce defensiveness, causing the conflict to de-escalate quickly. By using I statements, you take some responsibility for the way you are feeling, because when it comes down to it, it is just the way you feel. We all have different experiences, different perspectives, different thoughts and opinions. Because I feel a certain way about something does not in any way mean that you should too feel the same way. This is exactly what we do by using I statements. We share our point of view. I feel frustrated when you don't take the trash out. I feel frustrated. Even though your sister might not feel frustrated if you didn't take the trash out. But as long as it bothers you, you have the right to share how you feel without the other person feeling like they are being blamed for you feeling that way. Think of I statements as one constructive way to clarify what you think and feel to the other person. The formula to follow is I feel, insert feeling, when you do this or don't do that, because this happens as a result. But I statements, used as in our example, are free of expectations. Your hope probably is that your sister starts taking the trash out more often. But by sharing your perspective with her does not mean that she will now start doing what you'd want her to do. She might sympathize with you and tell you, yes, you are right. I have been leaving the house late recently and I haven't had the time to take the trash out. I did a little too much talking about the trash, but bear with me. The purpose of I statements is not to force the other person to change and fix the problem. It might not even produce the response that you would have liked, but that is okay. Its purpose is to let the other person know that you feel the way that you feel because of something that they did or did not do. By the way, I do not agree with those who believe that by using I statements, you are taking responsibility for the way you feel. Some responsibility, yes, but I would say it depends on the case. In our example, I think taking responsibility to a certain degree is necessary. It might be that not taking the trash out would not be so frustrating for your sister, for example, but it is a chore that you should be sharing, and as such, her not doing her part has led to you feeling frustrated. That is why the formula for I statements includes when you do this or don't do that. Now, if we want to bring change into the equation, then we need to add something to the formula above. But first, let's see if we can make your sister take the trash out more often. So you go. I feel a little frustrated because it has been a while since you took the trash out. I don't always remember to take it out, and it starts smelling. Could you please try to remember to take it out more often? We still use the I statement because we still want to remove the possibility of defensiveness, while sharing our perspective and the other person's action or lack thereof. The formula now becomes I feel, you share your feeling, thought, or perspective, whatever it is. When you say the reason why you feel the way you feel because of the other person's action or lack of it. And you pose a question to show your openness to the other person's reasoning. You could say, you haven't had the time, or like in our example, could you try, or could we try to do this or this other thing? When it comes to professional relationships, I statements should be mostly used when we are close with a colleague. In general, in situations where we feel like we haven't been given credit for what we've done, or when we don't agree with a decision that has been made by the majority of our colleagues, or when there has been some sort of misunderstanding, using I statements does not do what we might intend it for. We might think, it is the way I feel, so in order to show that I'm honest, I need to use I statements. Or what I want to say is my personal opinion, so I should opt for I. In these situations, I statements are more likely to weaken your argument than strengthen it. It might be the way you feel, but in the workplace, emotions shouldn't be running high. I statements can be seen as an expression of being emotional. If you want to let your colleague know that you really don't think that the decision that they made was the best, for the company that is, you should do that by showing evidence, facts, and data from the past, from other companies that have done the same thing and done poorly because of it. If you want to let someone know that they hurt your feelings because they didn't acknowledge your work or because they told you something that you didn't appreciate, using I statements, you could appear weak. The goal in the workplace is efficiency and effectiveness and not emotion. So what should be used instead of I statements? A study where the researchers studied the use of pronouns by individuals in a variety of contexts found that pronouns show one's focus of attention and their status inside a group or a hierarchy. They concluded that people with an inward focus used predominantly I statements, and people with an outward focus used we statements. I statements were used by individuals who were experiencing sadness and by individuals with lower status. On the other hand, we and you statements, we more than you, were used by individuals who were happy and by individuals who were either in a higher status or aspiring to a higher status. Another study revealed that the use of the first person singular pronouns, I, me, myself, indicates attention seeking. Rather than self-focused attention, it's a tendency for seeking attention from other people. Marketing guru Seth Godin has said that simply switching from I to we is one of the most profound ways a business leader can improve the way their company interacts with its partners and clients. What I really liked about what he said, instead of saying I, when you're ready to take credit, try we. And instead of saying we, when you're avoiding responsibility, try I. Pronouns have a massive impact. In his book, Good to Great, researcher Jim Collins writes that the difference between top performing and lower performing CEOs was their use of I and we statements. Lower performing CEOs used I significantly more times than they used we, and high performing CEOs used we more than they used I statements. Now let's make the distinction between taking credit for a success and taking the responsibility for a failure, when to use each of the pronouns. When it was someone other than you who succeeded in a project, in delivering a product or a service to someone outside the company or to another team inside the company, use you statements. Using you, either when talking to the person individually or while in a bigger meeting, will put you in a place where your humble side is at show. Whether you're in a high position, aspiring to be in one, or in a lower position, it does not matter. Saying you made this happen, well done, shows that you appreciate the other person, their work and achievement, and you celebrate it. Now, when you're in a meeting with many people, specifically, if you're in a high position, you could start with we, but immediately name the person who did that. So you could say, X project was a success, we made it. And it is all thanks to Liam. Thank you, Liam, for your hard work. Very well done. In this way, you are celebrating the success as being a success of the entire company, because it is. But at the same time, you are not insinuating that it was you who did it, especially if you weren't involved in the project at all. I would say if you were somehow involved in the project, you could use we freely, but if you were not involved or very little, you might want to steer clear of we and go with you. When it was you who managed to succeed at that particular project, then use we. Say, we finally did it. This project that we've been working on was a big success. A big congratulations to us. When talking to outsiders, partners, clients, you could stick with we to show a united front. When someone in the company did something wrong, the first thing that you need to do is talk to them privately. You should not, under any circumstances, let that person first know of their wrongdoing during a meeting with other people. You should talk to them before any other team meetings that you might have and let them know about what they did wrong, why the project failed to succeed. Use you statements and discuss with them about their perspective and how they or you together could fix the situation, what to do next, and how to do it better next time. Then, when you meet with the other team members as well, you should use we. You could say something like, unfortunately, the product that we were hoping to release into the market by today is not yet ready. We thought we could do it, but as it turns out, we made XYZ errors in the process. We have talked about the things that we need to do to get back on track, and we will be working on that. If it was you who messed something up, then use I statements instead of we. In more cases than not, people inside a company know the dynamics. If a project was a success, they usually know who it was that led that project to a success. If it failed, they will know who it was most responsible for it failing. By taking the responsibility with I statements, you put yourself in a position of power where you are not afraid to admit, yes, it was a failure because of me. Unfortunately, I messed it up, but I will own up to it. And as well, a position of humbleness, especially if you're in a high position where you say, yes, it was me. I can mess up like everybody else from time to time. Like most of us, you probably have not paid much attention to pronouns either. So I hope today's video sheds some light on 3 of the most used ones and encourages you to make a conscious decision on which pronoun to use. I will see you guys next week.